introducing one of my best friends, who you guys are going to have a pleasure hearing from. She is currently, first of all, her name is Maia Knudsen-Schul. It's Maia. I actually can't pronounce her last name. But Maia is actually a brand marketing director at Tastemade, which, if you guys haven't heard of before, is a web video food-based platform that has really been taking off over the course of the last couple of years. She is actually going to be talking to you guys about the art of branded content, and knowing that this is the media session, branded content is sometimes a little bit of a faux pas, and what Maia is going to talk about is how you can really think about it from both sides. How you can think about it from a publisher, from a platform side. So if you have a blog, for instance, if you are starting your own media platform, how you can stay true to your own identity, but then also think about potential partners that you want to work with. So how do you maintain your own integrity, but still really think about what your partner's challenges are from a business perspective, and really find solutions that speak to your audience in the most organic and authentic way.
You should just do it.
Maia.
She really could do this probably better than I could. I'm Maia. As Athena said, I am the brand marketing director at Tastemade. Previously, I was the brand strategy director at Tastemade, so I was doing a lot more branded content, and I was a brand strategy, what was I? Associate director before that at Refinery 29. Who here knows what branded content is? That's good. See, some people know. So the old world of branded content, I like to think about it in terms of product placement, right? I think branded content 1.0 was when you would watch Gossip Girl, and all of a sudden you'd see a lot of vitamin water for no apparent reason. You'd be like, oh my God, Dan really likes purple vitamin water. That feels very strange. And it was always, you'd see a lot of Microsoft Surfaces in Gossip Girl. If you guys watch Gossip Girl, you remember this. I think more recently, the last season of House of Cards, Samsung was a partner, and all the TVs in the last season of House of Cards were Samsung. So that's kind of OG branded content. These days, branded content have gotten a little bit smarter. It's less putting a product in front of millions of people on television and more integrating that product into an experience. You guys are all, kind of unbeknownst to you, experiencing branded content right now. We're in a Google space, you're all on Chromebooks, but you're learning something, you're super engaged. It doesn't feel like you're part of any kind of advertisement. You're learning something, you're in it. At Tastemade, we do branded content by way of video and a little bit of experiential. The example I gave, I have two examples. I have one example to tell you about and one to show you. Our very, very first branded content deal was with San Pellegrino, the sparkling water. And in days past, you'd see Dan on Gossip Girl, for whatever reason, drinking bubbly water everywhere he went, and that's how they would integrate into content. What we did is San Pellegrino came to us and they said, hey, we really want to remind people that San Pellegrino stands for Italian roots. Tastemade, you are a food media partner, you make great food content. How can we tell that Italian heritage story through your storytelling prowess? So we went out and found 8 different chefs who all come from Italian backgrounds, told their Italian roots story. It was presented by San Pellegrino, and at the dinner table, there may have been some pouring of the bubbly water, but really you got the kind of feeling of what San Pellegrino stood for, where you don't really get that when you get product placement, right? You don't know what vitamin water stands for when you just see somebody drinking it in a TV show. When you can build a narrative around what the brand stands for, it's a bit more meaningful. And you as a consumer are kind of getting an entertainment experience, but also getting to know the brand in a deeper way. This is another one that we did with LL Bean called Uncharted. I'll let you guys watch it really quickly.
It started off as an experiment. Can I learn this?
I had this burning need inside of me to just contribute something, to do something with my hands.
There's just something about creating something for yourself or for your family and being able to grow some things off of that.
This was all hard every day. Get up, do it again.
You know, the expectations are growing, and it makes my heart pound a little bit. But if this were easy, everyone would do it.
It was slowing the entire process down, appreciating the art of it. Nothing's by mistake, nothing's rushed.
It's my duty to give every bit that I can for the other people in this community. To make that possible is huge.
That's why we're going through all of the daily work and heartache, and it's about connecting to another person.
That look like an advertisement to anyone? It doesn't feel like an ad, right? This was 3 different episodes of an LL Bean series we did called Uncharted. LL Bean, which for me was a really exciting, it was probably my first or second proposal I'd ever done for a brand at Tastemade. And I'd come from Refinery 29, so I was used to doing fashion for all extensive reasons. And then I got to Tastemade where I was really pumped to do food, and I got an LL Bean proposal. And I was like, what? This doesn't seem like what I was supposed to be doing. But it was exciting. They came to us and they asked us to tell their story. The people that they wanted to be wearing their clothes were people that had multiple kind of functions and form in their life, whether it be a chef who goes out in the field and sources her own herbs and then goes back and cooks the herbs. She needs the clothing that can kind of take her from making to doing to feeling good. We also showed a guitar maker who was doing the same thing and a pair of photographers, and they just wanted to organically tell that brand story that represents them without necessarily shoving, like a really suave ad campaign down your throat. But everyone was wearing LL Bean in the video, and it was presented by LL Bean, so you really got a feel of the brand versus us just putting the brand in front of you. It did fairly well. We got over 4 million views across 3 videos. I'm obviously a CW enthusiast. I'm going to make another CW reference. Riverdale, the very first episode this season, got 2 million views of 1 episode of that show. So it just kind of shows you, in a 22, Riverdale's a 44-minute show. There's probably 8 ad spots in there. We got twice as many views, and the whole thing is for a brand. So that's a lot more power, from my perspective, than just 8, 15-second spots in a show that's reaching half as many people. So from a client perspective, it's much more powerful, I hope. We got 2.5 higher engagement rate than our normal average. And this is what I'm really proud of. We won a James Beard Award for visual and technical excellence in a category that wasn't for advertising. So the people that we were competing against in that category were actually just other content. It was just pure entertainment, and we were the only one that had a brand attached to it. And I kind of go into that later, but really when you're doing branded content, you don't want it to feel any different than the content you're already doing for yourself. So if you're an influencer, if you're a blogger, if you want to make video content, you really should always be holding your branded content at the same standard as any other content that you would be doing. Does anyone have any questions yet? Okay, good. So more than just the ad, I've talked about ads a lot, and ads can be great, right? Some people do excellent ad work, but I think they kind of accomplish 2 different things. Branded content, you always want authenticity, and you want authenticity on both sides of the spectrum. I'll put it in terms of a metaphor. When you're doing branded content, the publisher or the blogger or the influencer is in a relationship. You're entering into this kind of dating environment with the brand, right? And you want to go into that relationship with the same goals. So if you're entering in a relationship and you, as the one side of the spectrum, wants a really serious relationship, and on the other side of the spectrum, they just want a really quick Tinder date, it's not going to work, right? Same thing with brands and partners. You want to go into it together so you can have an authentic experience for your viewers in the end. I use the term viewers a lot because I come from video, but it could be readers, it could be people on Instagram. So, that being said, you always need to start with your voice. What defines you? What do you stand for? If you're a wellness blogger, do you never ever eat sugar? If you're gonna say you never eat sugar, and then a sugar brand comes to you or a candy brand comes to you and wants to give you $1 million, are you gonna take that $1 million? No. The answer is no, you can't. You're gonna completely blow it because you have created, and you have to create this trust environment with your audience, regardless of who it is. You can't betray that trust. And you guys all know it. Even on the highest level, when celebrities do way too many ad campaigns, right? You're like, what's going on here? This isn't authentic to you. Or you said you don't like pizza, and now you're in a Domino's ad. This doesn't make any sense. Or I know you're gluten-free, but all of a sudden, you're speaking on behalf of IHOP. Like, this doesn't work. You have to kind of stick to your voice when you decide what that is. At Tastemade, we stand for a lot of things. We started out as a food company. We've evolved, and we hit travel and home now. But across all of that content, we kind of stay true to a global perspective. We have offices all over the world, and we want to make sure that our content speaks to not only an American mindset, but really any mindset you can kind of touch, any culture. We have a Brazilian office, but we make sure that anytime we do Brazilian recipes, we tap into them to make sure it's super authentic, and that's another touch point we have, is all of our content needs that level of authenticity. We like to make sure it all has a certain level of taste, a little bit of whimsy, because no one wants to take themselves too seriously. And when we enter into brand partnerships, we make sure that those kinds of ideals align with each other, because again, otherwise it's not going to work. So if you're a blogger, if you want to kind of start your own thing, identifying your own brand voice is the number one first step, and then sticking to that, which will get difficult, and I think I talk about that maybe in another slide later on, but sticking to that voice can be hard. I mean, it goes back to the example of if somebody's going to offer you $1 million to talk about sugar, but you don't believe in eating sugar, you have to kind of say no to the $1 million, and those decisions become harder and harder as you grow. Oh, here it is. So you have to stay on track, and staying on track really means sticking to your gumption. You have to listen to the client's needs. So this is, let's say you're getting into the proposal stage. You have to, if your client's coming to you and saying, hey, I really want to change my brand perception. I'm a yogurt brand, and I want to change the perception that our yogurt brand is full of sugar. I don't know why I'm on this sugar thing right now. Maybe I've had too much today. And you, as Tastemade, we put a lot of sugar in everything, so we would say, fine, we'll help you change your brand perception about sugar, but maybe if you're, again, a wellness blogger and you don't want to accept that money, you probably will have to say no, or come up with a really creative, interesting way, or make sure that that yogurt brand that's coming to you that wants to change their perception about not having a lot of sugar actually means it, right? And if they mean it, and you are totally in support of that, then you should definitely find a way to tell that story in the most organic way possible. What does success mean? I think it depends. It depends on what the brand wants the success to be. I think from a publisher's perspective or a blogger's perspective, I think success is always just making sure that you're telling a story in a way that makes sense for your platform. From a brand perspective, different types of content and different places content can achieve different things, right? A video is probably going to achieve a different thing than an experience like this, than a blog post, than an Instagram story, than a Snapchat. So you should be aware of what your brand is looking for and then try to accomplish their goals in the smartest way possible. So I'll talk a tiny bit about data in context of social. So this is an Instagram post, a Facebook post, and then Tiny Kitchen, which we can play that really quickly just because it's fun and it gives me a breather. We did this in partnership with Rice Krispies around the 12 days of Christmas.
These Asian treats are the biggest,
and they wanted
yummiest,
to,
gooeyest, craziest,
of course we're running an ad.
brightest, awesomest ways to satisfy.
This is Tiny Kitchen, which is the cutest thing that we do. It's a tiny kitchen. We partnered with Rice Krispies to do the 12 Days of Christmas, Crispmas, and we knew that our audience didn't want to see 12 days of anything from anyone in a row on one singular platform. You know what I mean? If you're following us on Instagram, I don't want to see 12 Instagram posts in a row of the same brand doing the same thing. So what we did is we have an Instagram channel, we have a Snapchat channel, we have Tiny Kitchen, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram stories. So we took their goal, which was to hit Tastemade's audience 12 days in a row, and diversified it. So we did Tiny Rice Krispies on one of the days. We did another Rice Krispies episode that we pushed out on Instagram, a different one that we pushed out on Facebook, and we really diversified the content mix to achieve their goal, which was hard. When we first got the RFP, request for proposal, we were like, what? You want 12 days of what? We don't want to do that. But we figured out a way to make it work and give them their goal was to engage with our audience and make people happy and like want to make Rice Krispies for the holiday season. And what makes you happier than seeing a tiny Rice Krispies trays? And in the end, they've come back for more. We've solved an interesting problem for them, and we're pretty creative about it and could use our different platforms to do so. So partner, meet, brand, and I talked about this a little bit at the beginning, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it's really, think about it in terms of dating, right? You want to make sure that both parties are on the same page when you go into it. And the way you achieve that is ask a lot of questions up front. You want to make sure you understand what they stand for, make sure they understand what you stand for, make sure you understand what they want out of it. If they want to get a ton of sales, right? If they are coming to your platform or you as a partner and they want to just sell a ton of product, you're probably going to give them a different experience than if they want to make your audience laugh, right? I think Tiny Kitchen probably accomplishes making people have some joy and makes you more, have a better affinity for Rice Krispies, but maybe not necessarily go out and buy a box of Rice Krispies on the internet right then and there. So you have to understand, that mix. And then on the other side of the spectrum, when brands come to the table, they need to understand the same thing, right? They need to come and know, okay, if you're coming to Girlboss, we're gonna talk about ladies. Like, you can't come to Girlboss and not expect us to talk about women. If you're coming to Tastemade, food's probably involved. So you need to, if any of you are working for a brand or want to work for a brand, always please keep that in mind, is go to partners that you know have a good understanding of what they stand for and try to want to work with them because of that and not kind of force them out of that. Otherwise, there's no point. I put quality over quantity in here also, just a quick sub-note if you guys are ever on the brand side and want to work with a lot of partners. Like, it's really easy to be enamored by the really big guys, right? Like lots of numbers. People like to put a lot of millions at the end of things. And sometimes, sure, you can go and you can do one deal with either one big publisher or one huge celebrity, but then you're only talking about one kind of thing, right? It kind of goes back to, they still stand for one thing. So I would always consider a variety of things. Consider the smaller guy, consider the Instagrammer with 30,000 followers instead of 30 million followers, and do 10 of them instead of one, because their audiences are probably super engaged. Those 30,000 people probably care a lot about that one person. I don't know if those 30 million people that follow Kim Kardashian care as much as those 30,000 people that follow, not me, but somebody with the 30,000 followers. My 1,400 followers probably like me a little bit. So, it's not always about the big number. Do we have time? Do you guys have any questions? None? Okay. Okay, yeah? I just want to hear more about your day-to-day and you talked about being inside the kitchen and but what is it like? How much are you directly involved in video content creation and all that? That's a great question. It depends. So in my old life, in our past lives at Refinery, I was very involved. So I'll throw some industry jargon out there for you. Pre-sale and post-sale. So the pre-sale phase is it's not necessarily more creative, but it's a lot of coming up with ideas, taking the brand's RFP, request for proposal, looking at their goals. You're really thinking creativity meets strategy, and then putting together a proposal and helping the sales team pitch that proposal to the client. So that day-to-day is a lot of that. And then on the post-sale side of things, if you get to see the project all the way through, then you're working with your creative teams. So you're working with the photography team. If you're doing a photography editorial piece, you're working with the video teams if you're doing a video piece. And you're functioning both as kind of a creative liaison between the brand and your creative teams, and as a project manager. You're making sure that the brands are happy, that their needs are being met, and you kind of sit in the middle. You're kind of in the middle of everything. You're like, okay, creative team, I know you guys want to do this like crazy thing, but A, we don't have enough money, and B, that's not what the brand wants. And on the other end, the brand's like, hey, can you just talk about McDonald's a little bit more? And you're like, no, we need to make sure that this feels true and doesn't feel like an ad. So you're kind of playing that line in between where your creative team probably wants to make it a little less branded than you do, and your client probably wants to make it a little more branded than they do, and you're kind of negotiating in between. And usually you come out with something great. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. I thought it would be fun for us to come up with some ideas for Chromebook, since we're here. I think you all have one in front of you. So Chromebook is not a real computer, question mark. It's not your old school computer. It's not your PC. There's no tower or crazy processor, and you're not downloading a lot of things. They've been associated with schools for a long time. I don't know if you guys knew that. A lot of schools use Chromebooks in classrooms. They're not a traditional laptop. You know, when you guys used to go out and buy laptops, there are a lot of really strange numbers thrown your way, like megabytes and gigs and things along those lines. That doesn't exist anymore with Chromebook. Chromebook is an internet-based, computer-ish laptop. I hope I'm doing a good job with the Google client in here. So people see a PC as a real computer, right? Do you guys even know what PC stands for? Okay, I'm not as old as I think I am. That's good. So people see PC as a real computer, but it's a real computer designed for a different era, right? The early 90s, scary time. A real computer for the first processor, a real computer for storing files on a home screen. Who even does that anymore? And buying expensive virus protection. McAfee, anyone? What was the other one that started with an N? Norton. Oof, do you remember? That was awful. It's a real computer for dial-up days and shrink-wrap software. I just want to see, did anyone not have dial-up in this room? The one. So Chromebook has their campaign with If X, You Chromebook, and I think the next slide has a good example of what that means. So if you watch TV without the TV, you Chromebook. So does that resonate with you guys? If you're watching a movie and you're not at the theater, you Chromebook. So I would love you all to brainstorm. Should we do a video idea? What do you guys want? Maybe you choose. You can choose a video idea, you can choose an editorial idea, or even an experiential idea of how you would kind of do a fun branded content piece for your own personal platform, whatever that may be, for Chromebook. Did anyone come up with something they want to share? No one? Ah, yes.
I feel like I shouldn't have volunteered. We came up with the concept of a solopreneur who is showing, we came up with a solopreneur who is showing how they use the Chromebook for communicating with their virtual assistant via Skype and doing a deck like this one, and just kind of presenting how the day goes. Just because when I sat down here, I thought this was a MacBook Pro. I mean, obviously I shouldn't have because of this, but I was like, oh, I could do everything I do with my MacBook Pro, but I could do it with the Google Chromebook instead. So that would kind of be part of the. You guys owe me now.
So with the visual. So the solopreneur visual that we thought of was this person doing all these things for their job and wearing many hats, and then someone asks them in the video, so what do you do? How do you do all of that? And they answer, I Chromebook.
I'm so proud of you guys. That was great. Can you guys give them a hand? My advice to you all, which is the advice I guess I've taken to myself, is to be super curious. Poke your head and your nose around where it doesn't belong. Ask a ton of questions. My boss would probably say, I ask too many questions, but you're never gonna learn unless you ask. So ask a ton of questions, be super curious, and just try things. I was telling one of them earlier, even if you don't know that it's right, or maybe it's something your company has never done before, just because it's never been done before or you've never heard of it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. So try things, pitch things. If you get told no, whatever, move on, tomorrow's another day, it's fine. But you'll never learn unless you try. That's all, thank you.